We'll try to keep this to a limit of a regular board meeting around 5 hours. We'll try to keep it to, we'll try to stay on schedule. And we're going to try to limit questions, though we do think that people should have a right to ask questions. See that there is one board member and one water candidate were added per our council, or per the council of our attorney, as a best practice based on Washington State RCW law.
John's just
Sue
doing
Ickes,
intro
is
stuff.
that how you pronounce her name? Does anyone know Ickes or Ikes? I don't want to mispronounce it though. But she was actually a very good candidate for the position. But she realized that she would not have the time to commit to doing the job. And I hope that each candidate also sees that and will let themselves know that, hey, you know, and let us have the time to commit. And it's not an easy, I put in 20 to 40 hours a week myself. It is not an easy job to do, being on the board, and it's something you really should feel strongly about. And it's also not a job that you take just to get even or just to get your point across. You're here representing everybody in the community, whether you really like them or not. It's your job to represent them. I also want to state for the record, hi, Rhonda, state for the record that Brian Smith resigned from the board. His position still has 2 years left on it. The board has decided not to fill that position till after the election. Not because we are giving up the office is straight through there. Yeah, there you go. Not that the board has given up its right to appoint someone. We could appoint someone now, but in discussion at the board meeting, we felt that it would be better to have any new people that are elected in the April election to take part in that selection. So that's why we are going to wait till after the election. The bylaws say 3 candidates will be elected each year, and that's what we will have every intentions of doing, as well as 2 candidates for the water department. So let me see if I have anything else here. Tonight, each candidate in attendance will end on Zoom, will introduce themselves, informing why they want to serve. For those in attendance, save your questions until all water and board candidates are finished. For those on Zoom, you are muted for listening only. We will start off tonight. Well, oh, you know, I'm sorry. I'm John Ingemi. I am the president. I was elected president to fill the vacancy up until the April election, but I am president of the board of directors of the Lake Limerick Country Club. Okay, first time I said that. So moving ahead, candidates are, and you can tell me if you're here, but just raise your hand, please. We're going to do water first. But I want to announce all the candidates. Candidates for the board of directors are Marlo Brown, Dean Dyson, Mandy Paradise. I know Mandy is online. Oh, there she is, waving. Over there, over in the corner. Pat Paradise, Mitch Robinson, Amy Sem, John Sam. And we've been asked about write-in candidates, which I'll go over in a few minutes as well. Then we have for the Water Committee, we have Bruce Bronson, right over there. Wallace Montz.
Looking at sexual images of children in the most disgusting way is to supervise their computer.
John Sam again.
Put them in jail? No, Senator, I didn't say
That's exactly
what you said.
Hey, John, we can't hear you because people aren't muted. Can the facilitator mute everyone?
Can you? Mitch,
What's that?
can you mute everyone?
I have been. Keep going.
Okay, he has been doing it, but would everyone please mute themselves if Mitch doesn't get to you? Thank you. Esther, what happened? Oh, there she is. Okay. Huh? We have, there was a question on, there's a question on write-in candidates, and we now have that on the ballot. There are a couple of people here tonight that have suggested that, or have requested that they be announced as write-in candidates. And I will certainly do that as well. One is Russ Preuit from Division 4. Russ, could you raise your hand? And the other one is Mike Berni from Division 3. Thank you. So if in fact, when you vote for 3, you have the option of voting for 2 that are listed and write in a 3rd candidate, or vote for 1 and write in 2 candidates if that's what you want, or only write in 2 candidates and don't. So, and I want to, before start off by saying, Christy Smith in the office has done a fantastic job getting all this stuff together, and so we really appreciate that. So thank you. All right, let's start off with the Water Committee candidates, and we'll start off with Bruce because he has to get out of here and would like to. So Bruce, why don't you come up here? You can stand right here. That way you'll be on camera.
The candid camera?
Yeah. Not too many people know what that is.
No, they don't. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing tonight? Fantastic. Gotta have my readers these days. My name is Bruce Bronson. I have lived in this community since 2000. Can you hear me okay? Okay. My name is Bruce Bronson. I've lived in this community since 2000. Me and my wife and 3 kids we've raised here. I am running for the water board for the committee. I have a very strong background in business, approximately 15 years worth, running multi-million-dollar businesses from grocery stores to auto parts stores. I've been very familiar with dealing with money, profit and loss statements, being in leadership roles. I've recently changed after that 15 years in 2005 to working in the trades. I have worked in the infrastructure of Seattle from 2006 till present day. Some of the familiar projects you might be very familiar with is the 520 floating bridge. 2012, I've been a part of fixing them so they will stay afloat. And they're very extravagant little systems. I have also went from that project to Seattle Water, installing new water systems for Sound Transit, sewer systems, drain systems, fire hydrants, valve systems, So I've had a pretty good working of water, how it works, how it's supposed to be put in. And my goal for this committee is to bring my knowledge forward and try and help improve our system because it is aged, just like all of us. We're getting a little older. We gotta fix it. And I want to help to bring my knowledge to everybody here to create this community and keep it going for decades to come. I've got my granddaughter that lives here. I've got my parents that live here, and my wife, friends, and I want to keep this community going. And I want to offer my assistance and help any way I can. So that's my presentation. Anybody got any questions? No questions? All right.
Thank you, Bruce. Next, Wallace or Wally. Stand here so we'll get you on camera.
Thank you. Okay, hi, I'm Wallace Montz. You can call me Wally as well. I am running for position on the Water Committee, and my experience is that I was almost 33 years as a public servant, firefighter, paramedic for the city of Aberdeen. I retired as a captain, and my knowledge of water distribution is what it is through fire suppression, having to understand and know water delivery for city of Aberdeen, city of Hoquiam, Cosmopolis, and some of the surrounding areas. I was not personally involved with that. That was the city water departments and engineers. However, I did have to have a working knowledge and understanding of those. As a public servant, 30, can you see me? I'm sorry, am I veering off? As a public servant, I have always felt a civic duty, and since retiring, I still feel that civic responsibility or duty to participate in my community. I've only lived here, my wife and I, Jody, have only lived here for a little less than a year, but we think it's a great community. We are blessed with all that it has to offer, and certainly we want to be a part of its continuation. I know that there's a lot of history that goes back with lots of people who've been here for many years, who have seen lots of changes, lots of additions, deletions, and I know also with that the water systems are struggling, perhaps failing. And if I can be a part of moving that forward so that we all have clean, reliable water, I would like to do that. So, months. And for my neighbor who's watching Zoom on a big screen, I hope I look good. Jeremy.
Yeah, this question would be for both Wally and for Bruce, the prior speaker. In the event that we have a budget shortfall for, let's say, any significant repairs that need to be made to the water, what would you actually do to address those budget issues?
That's a good question. So if there are budget shortfalls as a result of repairs or whatever needs to be done with the water systems, this question was also posed to myself and the previous speaker, Bruce, how would we address the issue? I can't speak for Bruce. I can speak for me. And my initial answer is I don't know enough about the inner machinations of LLCC and the finances. What I do know is that first, if I had to personally, my wife and I have talked about it, we would be, I guess, willing to pay what it is for our part to make sure that we all have clean water, reliable water. On top of that, I would also say that my personal interest in addressing that would be that there has got to be some kind of funding source out there, some kind of grant opportunities. And I don't really know what there are, but I know that there are out there. And that would be my first place to look if there was a budget shortfall in the water department.
That's how it works. Okay, we're only allowing 2 questions per person. Otherwise, we'll be here till 10 o'clock tonight. So the next person in line was Steve McKendrick. Steve?
All right, first of all, I almost want to vote for the dog because he was really trying to express his opinion. But all right, this is my standing question for all candidates. So if you just, you can ask them on my behalf as they all come up. The 2 things that have been to heart are A, how do you feel about resetting the water cap to 6,000 gallons? That's the one question. And then I also would like, my second question is, what can we do about the bags on the fire hydrants? Those are my 2 questions for everybody. And I'll mute back up and let you guys go.
Thank you.
So the cap, again, I don't know enough about the history of the water systems, excuse me. But I do know that the caps were placed to, I don't want to say limit, but to, I suppose, make people more mindful of the water that they're using. I know that this system was designed when these were all camping lots. And the water usage was not designed for, I don't know how many, these are mostly all residential lots now. So there is a huge impact that has to be considered. And I think limiting our water, which was the idea from what my understanding is of the cap, was to, I think of it more as making people more mindful of their water usage. The other, it was kind of a 2-part question. Oh, okay. And I'm trying to think, let's see, it was the water, and the fire hydrant bags. Well, we could just pull them off, but I think that could be confusing to your fire districts and in them thinking that our system is stable enough to handle that kind of turbulence. When there is fire flow, if they are drawing water that they have to draw for fire suppression, it's a huge amount of turbulence, and these old pipes will get rattled right out of the ground. So how do we deal with it? We fix it. How do we fix it? I don't know. That's one of the reasons I am preparing to be on the committee so that maybe I can have some input and some guidance on how it goes and to make it the best it can be, certainly at the most affordable price.
Can you please state your name again for everybody?
Wallace, Montz.
What we're going to do is the next 2 candidates that come up for water, we will let them do their presentation. Then people can ask questions after the presentation is over. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Remember, 2 questions will, I apologize, Mandy, we didn't get to you on the question, but slow in the draw. Moving ahead will be John Sem.
Evening all. My name is John Sem. I'm a graduate of the University of Washington, spent 13 years in the military. Since then, I basically remained a public servant with the state of Washington as a tax collector / auditor. Since then, I pretty much finished my career as an accountant for the city of Shelton and also for private industry. Just a few of the things that I'd like to see more of in Lake Limerick, and I think it's important for all of us to get a better understanding, is transparency and accountability. It seems like some of the things are not being disclosed. We want to get our water system in shape. We want to, the last one of the last questions that were asked was, how do we do that? What's it going to cost? The water report was pretty clear, but it was in very, very fine print. It's going to be about $30 million ballpark. So when you take that and you look at that amount of money that we could potentially be spending, you're looking at about $20,000 per lot. And in that, in the water study, they also stated that we would be, they recommended that Lake Limerick does assessments against people. And it's kind of like the lid payments that the people of the city of Shelton would make to the city. Basically, it's a lien against everybody's property until that money is paid to Lake Limerick. I think it's very, very important before we start jumping into things like that, that we take a good hard look at what's actually needed. Our audits, be it the assets of Lake Limerick, the financial books of Lake Limerick, our water department. We're supposed to have an annual audit. And after talking to the office, you know, we don't know when the last audit was done. You can skip a year, but you've always got to do your audits. So accountability to me is a real big thing. On the issue of the water and the fire hydrants, fire suppression in Mason County is handled by the county. From what I've heard, I personally don't believe there's even a need for fire hydrants in this community. And to make a $30 million investment in something we may not need, I think that's why we need to look at things. We need to have open meetings. We need to have meetings with our board and also with the lot members present, asking questions, allow the community to ask questions of these people we're having meetings with. And that's something that I think haven't done as well as we could have. I've lived here for several years now, and I mean, it's a great place to live. It's nice and quiet over in my division. I'm over in Division 4. But I think we could do better. We can always strive to do better and make our communities better for each other. It's important that I feel that we work in the best interests of the community instead of our own personal agendas. No matter which way this water thing goes, if it's the best decision, I'll definitely support it. But we've got to gather all the information first. And I think there's a lot of information that's not being delivered to the community, or maybe even to all the board members for that matter. There have been some issues in the past where ethics and accountability individually are very important and they need to be adhered to, whether it's board members or employees. I think there needs to be a definitive collection plan when people become delinquent on assessments. There needs to be a defined plan of how that's approached. And from what I've seen to date, it's not being handled that way. I used to do it for a living, so I know the importance of having a plan in place where you go step by step by step, and you don't miss a step, you don't skip a step or wait another 30 days. We're losing money every day on this. One of the things that the board has brought up is that we have a lot of money in different accounts when that's accruing about 2.5% to 3% interest. If our cost of living is going up by 16, 17%, now would be a good time to invest that money so we can save that additional 12 or 13%. And get some of these projects done that are absolutely necessary. My entire intent is to make this not only an affordable community, but also one that all of us can agree that we're making the best steps forward, instead of a few select doing that. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. We're gonna ask, does anyone have any questions for John? And if I could, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. You got two?
No, it's protecting two, right?
Yep. So do you see any?
No hands up, right?
Hearing none, that's it.
Hold on.
Up,
Next question.
Janelle?
Are you also running for the board or the water department? Which would be your preference?
I think there's a lot of good candidates, and whichever would best serve the community, I guess. My preference would probably be the board, but we've had people working on not only the board, but also on committees as well. And I think I've got a lot of time on my hands that I can invest in hopefully making our community a little bit better. And that's where I'd like to spend it. You bet.
We have what's called Vern. It's not asked a question yet.
Oh, it's Vern. Okay.
I'm asking to unmute himself.
Vern, you're muted.
Gotcha. Thank you. My name is Vern Dugan. I live 2253 lot division 2253. I just want you to know that there has not been any kind of decision whatsoever on what we're doing with the water. There has been studies. We're looking at the studies. There's committees that have been working on this stuff. So to blatantly say that we're going to spend $30 million right off the bat, we haven't, nobody's made a decision yet. So that's all that I want to say about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Now, to respond to that, Vern, the $30 million was one of the price tags that they had in the water study that we paid for. If we're going to follow those studies that we're paying for, which we should be, or at least using them as a good reference, that $30 million price tag to completely revamp our entire water system, I would assume is true and accurate if these people that we're paying did their jobs and did their research.
I agree with you.
I'm not saying that we've made a decision on that and that we're moving forward with replacing the entire system, but there's a lot of talk about it and people are very concerned about fire hydrants because they're all bagged, but they're worried about fire suppression. The biggest problem.
I agree with what you're saying, okay? But all I'm trying to tell you is that there has not made a decision. We paid these people for advice. That's what we paid them for. And so the decisions will come if we're going to follow the advice or not follow the advice. But no decision has been made at this time. That's all that I'm telling you. That's all that I'm informing you about.
Okay. And just to be clear, I never said that we were moving definitively in that direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. That's two. Steve, put your hand down. And I just want to state for the record, because John, you might not have read it, and a lot of people might not have noticed it, but we do now have an official collection policy that got passed by the board this past board meeting. So we do have a collection policy, and we intend to use it. So, thank you. Last for the water committee is Esther Springer-Johannesen. Do you need your candidate thing, Esther? Do you have your notes? Oh, okay.
What, did you type some for me?
Yes.
What am I supposed to say? I can use that one.
Yeah.
How loud do I have to talk with my lifeguard voice? So for those that don't know me, my name is Esther Springer-Johannesen. I've been a member down here since a long time. I think we bought in 1989, built in like 92, and I finally got to retire in 2019 so I can enjoy it full time. However, since 92, I've been on committees. However, this is my first time on the water committee. I'm just finishing my third year. Currently, I'm the acting treasurer of the water committee. So when people are asking a lot of these questions, I know some of the answers, don't know them all. I'm I am currently working with the fire commissioner in regards to the bags on the fire hydrants. I'm being very, very nice to make sure that we can get our way, if nothing else, to get rid of the bags and paint the fire hydrants whatever color they want. And I'm sure that Wallace can attest that fire hydrants often are painted different colors depending upon the fire flow water that comes out of them. So I'm currently working on that. I'm also been working on doing inventory because we haven't done it in a long time. So I don't really know that there's an accurate list of what the water department has as far as inventory goes. So need to clean it up, not only for IRS depreciation purposes, insurance purposes, but the lovely county likes to tax us for everything we have too, although water is tax exempt. However, the water that you consume is not tax exempt. Part of what's included in your water bill is a 5.029% tax that we pay to the state of Washington for utility tax. And I know Steve McKendrick, I believe is his last name, asked a question in regards to, you know, why did we reduce the gallons to 4,000 from 6,000? I basically, when we started the budget process here this year, I gave 12 different options to the water committee. My job is just to gather the info, give it out to the committees, discuss it, decide. And we went from 12 to 6 to 3, and finally opted to come up with the current rate that we have, less the exception that the board made. It's now 5,000 gallons instead of 4. And basically it was just a matter of, I need this much money. I need this much money to go to reserves. What's it going to cost to do it? How much do we have to charge the members to be able to do that, to get the things done that we need to get done this year? And to be honest with you, even at that, it's a crapshoot. I don't know how much water you guys are going to use when it gets hot here. It's kind of a two-edged sword because I'm going to get money from excess water, but I don't really want you to use excess water when it's really hot because it's a huge impact on our system. And we have found already, since we've changed the rate structure, that people are finally conserving water. We're not using as much as we did. And so I don't know how much revenue is actually going to end up coming in by the end of the year. Currently, there's money in reserves because it's your money. Everything is done in just money market or sitting in CDs. Money market pays nada. So I try really hard to work with Edward Jones, who's our current provider, and constantly have a new CD. And we try and get them so they're rotating every 30 days. So we have some that are coming up. If we ever needed the money, we wouldn't have to pay a penalty for it. We could use an existing CD. I personally am really concerned about, you know, our pipes in the ground. We've done the report with RH2. We've started to work with the engineer. We're not done yet by any means, and it's a huge project. So at the time that we do finish and decide how we want to proceed forward, we will have town hall meetings to let everybody know, but it's going to be expensive. And again, like Wallace said, there is grant money out there, but we also are a private water system. We are not public. A lot of your grants that I've looked into already are specifically for public water systems. But I say that because I know for a fact, back in the early 90s, the state gave us money to fix this lake at one point, and I think it was over $100,000. So even though we're private, sometimes the state does kick in and provide money as well. So I know that as a treasurer, I know a lot of people look at me like, you raised the rates. I know I did, but I was one of 6 people on the committee. The board approved it, the members voted on it as well. So sometimes the decisions around here are really hard to make. And I'm always been willing to make the tough decision, whether I'm popular or not popular for making that decision. You've got a lot of really good candidates here. And I don't know a ton about the mechanical part of water system. I have learned a lot in 3 years, and I read my books that people give me. But I've got a lot of experience, I hope, that comes with this, and historical data that a lot of people don't have. I think Phil's older than I am, and Phil served on the water committee for a long time. She probably knows a lot more than I do at this point, but I'm learning. So I would appreciate your vote, and I'm always open to questions. I don't want to take up everybody's time because we've been going on, but I'm more than happy to stick around after the meeting if somebody has any questions directly for me.
Will you tell everybody your name again?
Esther Springer-Johannesen.
Questions?
Esther, I'm smart enough to get 3 questions if you want.
Can you answer?
Any of the 3 candidates been to your committee?
Mr. Sims has been to it. That's it, that I'm aware of. I don't know if Wallace or the others were on the Zoom meeting though. I saw him at one meeting and I don't know if he was on Zoom or not. I'm not real knowledgeable about the Zoom participation. So is that it? That was 3 and 1. I'm out of here.
Okay, I just want to say that John Sem, who is also a candidate for the board, just told me his wife wasn't feeling well, so she's a candidate as well. And so they both left. He said his presentation should cover him for the board as well. So, okay, thank you very much. And I didn't say anything for Esther, so we're moving along very quickly. We're going into the Board of Directors candidates at this point in time. Some of them are going to be on Zoom. So any of the write-in candidates that are here that want to be mentioned will go last. So first of all, we will call on Marlo Brown. Is Marlo Brown online? Do you know? Marlo, if you're online, can you unmute? I am not seeing her on this page. Mandy? Oh, I'm sorry. Mandy had a question for Esther.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, moving along. Dean Dyson? Yes, we know. Oh, and there's water in the back of the room here, if anyone would like something to quench their thirst.
Thanks. Thanks, John. My name's Dean Dyson. I have had one term on the board, so I've been there for 3 years. And I'm looking to move forward. I think the experience I gained from being on the board for those 3 years has been invaluable. It's a big learning process to understand what's going on with the lake, what's going on with the buildings here, the parks, the finances, the fire hydrants, the water department. And so if those who get elected, I would definitely suggest getting to as many committee meetings as you can get to. I have lived in Lake Limerick, or had a house here, or a camping lot. John's getting in my way again. Or a camping lot here for many years. And then in 2015, we bought a house. And now I'm living permanently down here. In fact, I'm selling a house I have right this minute in Berni. Anybody want to buy one in that area? My main concern right now, there are many, but I think is communication between the members and the board, but even more important than that kind of communication is if there's an emergency around here, we don't have a very good way to get a hold of everybody that needs to know. We got a problem with the water. We need to boil it. Well, we put out signs and door hangers. It takes a day and a half to get that out there. So that's one of my main objectives this coming term is to see if we can get a better communication between our members and whatever committee or whatever organization or organizational part of the homeowners association, so that we can get news out a lot faster. I don't really have anything more to say. Is it like John, I put in about 20 hours a week on this job. So not as much lately as I've had in the past, but I plan to up that since I'm hopefully feeling better. Any questions? Hearing none.
People are using the hand raise function and moves them to the top line.
Yeah, right. I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay, next up is Mandy Paradise. Mandy,
Hi, John. Mic check. Does it work?
Does your what work?
Any better?
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, thank you. I hope you can hear me too. Hi, everyone. My name's Mandy Paradise. I've been a member in Lake Limerick and I've been a community member here since 1982. That's about 40 years, actually. I bring a master's degree in education. I have worked in civil service in both public health and education, and most of my time has been in service as a project manager. Some of you may know that I worked very hard this last year to help bring the community in stride with some of the changes that have been occurring in our HOA. And that's been done as an effort to help inform folks of what changes might mean for them. I want to be really clear and just let you know that I believe in community. And that's the only reason that I'm here asking to serve and asking for your vote. If you have curiosities or questions about my commitment, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can ask your questions tonight. You can also look up the small collection of videos that I've made as part of my community service and in hopes of community engagement. You can also know that I've invested my time working with and becoming a committee member for the Lake Dam Committee. I've also attended the whole last year's worth of water committee meetings and board meetings. In terms of skill sets, I'd like to share that I bring the ability to assess and maintain budgets, that I am used to and very comfortable in working with groups where opinions and perspectives are varied. And I really believe in data-informed and data-driven decision-making. I also think that we can right-size our budgets and find better cost for our members. I'm interested in sustainable rates, but also affordable rates. And I want to contribute to keeping our assets and investments strong, keeping them well managed, and being transparent about the processes and the decisions in play. I'm very interested in serving the whole of our community, and I can guarantee you that if I'm elected, I will do so with integrity. It's my opinion that if this community is going to thrive as well as it has, that we really have to continue to meet each other halfway on many fronts. And this is going to mean sometimes giving in, but not giving up. And it's going to mean taking responsibility. And it's also going to mean what I think is the most important thing, which is trying trust with each other. So I guess in closing, what I can tell you is if you choose to vote for me, I would be honored, and that I promise to be curious. I promise to do my homework and read the reports and the resolutions and know what the data say. I promise to be fiscally responsible and guided by trend data and targets that our community has input on. I will own and embrace the community as a whole, all of us, and I will listen deeply to what it is that folks are saying and requesting. And I will be transparent about the decision making. I want to pay close attention to correspondence to the board, and again, bringing that intent to truly listen to the voices of all. So thank you for letting me speak. I also wanted to address Steve's standing question, which is, I do know the history of the water systems. I've read all the reports. I believe we can work with the local fire marshal to paint those hydrants, and maybe that's black because that's the color that's indicated for the type of service our hydrants provide. I'm very interested in reducing water costs to members while maintaining the ability to save for system renovations and updates. I've had the pleasure of having correspondence with Chief Patty, and I feel strongly that we can trust him and his team's guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Is there any questions? I see someone's hand up there. Deanne. Could you unmute, Deanne?
Hi. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mandy, so much. I so appreciate how much work you put into help educate the community, and all of your YouTube videos. They've been very informational and super helpful, and your contributions to the Lake Dam Committee have been invaluable. So I really appreciate how much time you have given to our community to this date. I look forward to potentially seeing you be on the board. I do know that there is a movement out there that questions the amenities, and there are those of the mindset that some of our amenities might not be necessary. And while you have, on the other hand, those that feel very strongly that that is what makes the Lake Limerick community the place that it is. And so I want to know, as a board member, how would you balance being the need to try to keep living in Lake Limerick affordable for those on fixed incomes, while still protecting the investment that the members have made in buying into a community that has these wonderful amenities?
Mandy?
That's it.
I love your question, Deanne. Thank you for giving me the chance to respond to that. I think that that's a common community concern. When it comes to the amenities, we have a lot to take into consideration. I don't know that I have an answer, and I might have an opinion, but as a board member, it's my job to listen to all the voices. You're right. When we bought out here at Lake Limerick, I hear this going around, like, you knew what you were getting into. And you know what you've gotten into and what people have gotten into has changed over the years. It hasn't always looked like this. Our budgets haven't always been this much. We heavily subsidize the golf course. We heavily subsidize the inn. We heavily subsidize the cafe. And I'm not saying that we don't need to subsidize it. I do think that there's room, because that's why we have an HOA. It's part of it. We subsidize it, and that's where our dues go. But I think that there's a threshold of reasonable spending. You know, I think that there are thresholds that can be examined and discovered. I think there are management principles and business plans that can be put into place. Right now, I don't believe that any of our amenities have business plans. There might be, but I haven't seen them in the documentation. I don't think that we have to make a profit, and I don't think we always have to break even. But I do believe in getting closer to fiscal responsibility, because I'm going to just bring out the elephant in the room. That's for me. Some of us are very affluent. Some of us could afford spending a couple $100 a month on dues. And for those of you who are like, yeah, I can do that, wait till it's a lot more than that. Our community will be changing. It's already changing. We have some folks who can afford a lot more than other people. Some of our people are on fixed incomes. And I think that we have to really strive to find a way to do something that keeps our amenities well maintenance. I think we have to think before we move ahead with new projects and spending outside of the approved budgets. You know, if you look at the meeting notes from this year's board meeting, if you add up all the unanticipated costs, which I've done and I keep track of, you might be surprised how much over budget we're already spent. And this is true every year. I'm not saying we can't make room for the things that are going to be unexpected and need to be encumbered. But right now, I don't believe we should be raising dues when we aren't managing the funds that we bring in appropriately. And I think that once we tighten that up, the amenities will be fine and will be able to be sustained. I hope that I answered your question, Deanne. And if not, I'm happy to, dive deeper with you or anyone else who wants to talk more.
Thank you, Mandy. And I hope you answered it too, because it was certainly a long answer. And we have one more question from Jeremy Rotman.
That's okay. So Mandy, there's a lot of differing viewpoints throughout Lake Limerick. And some of it comes back down to the amenities. Some of it come back down to like the whole movement to like take back Lake Limerick, et cetera, et cetera. How do you plan to harmonize these discordant views to ensure that we are actually making the right decisions and we're not playing identity politics?
Great question. And I think community input is critical there. And I don't know the answer. I would rely on my board colleagues and the community to help us figure it out. I think the biggest strategy that I would employ, Jeremy, is leaning towards always transparency. As decisions are being considered, letting the community know that what the status is, what the problems of practice are that we're encountering as a board, as a community, and trying to make room.
Sorry,
for
Mandy,
input.
not to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
But I'm asking specifically, what would you do? How do you personally harmonize discordant views? Because there are a lot of them inside of this inside of our community. And so I want to understand like your personal aspects on how you actually go to resolving conflicts, harmonizing the views so that we don't keep having the same problems we've been having as of late.
I don't know, Jeremy. I don't know that that would be something that I would take on as a board member. I think I'd have to listen and I'd have to make decisions in coordination with the board.
Okay, thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Jeremy. And moving on to the next candidate is Pat Paradise. Pat, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there you are, Pat. Okay.
It's following my daughter is just proof that smarts skips a generation, because I have 3 adult women children. They're all much smarter than I am, much more eloquent speakers. I've been out here a long, long time. A lot of people know me. For those that don't, my folks bought property out here while they were still digging a hole for the lake, 1967. I was 11 years old. Used to ride my Honda 90 around. And when I was a senior in high school in 1973, I bought my first piece of property out here, a nice little 2-bedroom, single bath cabin on the golf course. I paid a whopping $12,000 for it. Paid $80 a month on a payment and wondered how I was ever going to make that $80 a month payment. Lake Limerick's grown up. It's become a bedroom community, I think. And recently served on the board. I've recently served on the water committee, and I'm currently serving on the Lake Dam committee. I resigned my position on the water committee and on the board in October of last year. Out of sheer frustration, we hired a water manager that I think was corrosive, and not only to the water system and his opinion of it, but to the community. And I think that's part of what this Taking Back Lake Limerick was manifested by. I've read over 2,000 pages of internal reports that Lake Limerick paid disinterested third-party engineers to produce, that has the entire history of Lake Limerick's water system contained within it. Not my opinion, not anybody's opinion, just the disinterested professional opinion. And there's over 2,000 pages to read that clearly states what our system was designed to do, what it's capable of doing, and what it isn't capable of doing. And I certainly wish that Christy or Roger would post those PDFs to the internet, to our webpage, for people that want to take the time to read 1,200 pages of reports and over 2,000 pages if you take the time to read the draft reports as well as the finished reports. I won't go into what is in there, but to me, it's very clear what it does say we have and what it isn't say, what it says we don't have. And you know, prior to our last water manager, who is not longer here, we had a pretty sleepy water system. We begged for 2 years just to get a part-time help on there for Joe to do his rounds, and pretty much fell on deaf ears, because every morning everybody turned on their water and it was fine. And nobody saw any desperate needs. And now 2 years later, Chicken Little says the sky is falling. I don't believe that, but I would defer to those reports to anybody that wants to read them. And I think since I resigned out of frustration, I've matured some. I've realized I'm not going to win every battle. And there's a lot of serious work to be done at Lake Limerick. We have not only the water system, which is 50 years old, but our current draft water system plan says we're good for another 20 to 40 years on that system. and to start seriously saving money for the inevitable day when it's going to need to be replaced, but it currently has no deficiencies and no immediate needs. And those are not my words. Those are the words of the people we paid $20,000 for to tell us what we need. So I would urge Lake Limerick to post all of those reports and let people read them. If they want to read them and reference them, terrific. If they just want to take the rumor of the week or the narrative that our last water manager put out and run with that, I can't stop that from happening. So we've got sedimentation issues in the lake to be concerned with. We've got reserve study and reserve planning to do. We've got my pet peeve is transparency and getting the board and committees trained on what constitutes a meeting and how business is conducted. Are we going to run our system by email and have all our discussions before the meetings ever take place? Or are we going to actually have an open meeting where the community comes in and people talk about what's on their mind and the board reacts to that and does what the community wants instead of vice versa? So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I've been around here a long time. I have some talents to contribute, and I'm willing to contribute my time to continue to make Lake Limerick a great place to live. I'll take any questions.
Up, someone's hands up. Okay.
Hi, Pat. You definitely bring a lot of experience to the board, and you're obviously running again after quitting. Would you be willing to contribute even in a volunteer capacity without necessarily being on the board? It's still benefiting all of us from your experience, but not having another board member from the Paradise household.
I recognize that, and honestly, I would contribute under any condition to the best of my ability. The thing that makes my contribution possible now is a hybrid meeting status. That ends. My ability to do in-person meetings is limited. I'll be honest, I'm becoming a snowbird. I want to be a snowbird, but I want to contribute to Lake Limerick, and with the hybrid meeting system, I can do that, whether I'm a member or not, or whether I'm a member of the board or any committee. But I think it's critical that we continue with the hybrid system, and I'm going to be vocal whether I'm elected or not. I've made up my mind to that. Some people would say I'm going to be a pain in the ass, and I guess that might be true. But so yeah, I don't have to be on the board to be effective, if that answers your question, Mike.
Thanks for your answer.
Thank you, Pat. Any question? We have a question here, Pat, from Rich Hamilton. Well, go ahead, you can ask.
Hey, Pat, big fan of yours, I have a lot of respect for it. But I have to be honest with you, this whole take back Lake Limerick thing is really chapped my butt. I'm not a big fan of the decisive nature that it's taken. And I'm curious, you get on the board, and something doesn't go your way, or say several things, are we gonna see you still on the board? Or are we gonna retreat back into this sort of, I don't know what you say, almost secretive, take back Lake Limerick campaign?
Did you hear that, Pat?
I think I heard enough of it to answer the question. One of the requirements of being on the board is that once a decision has been made, then the board acts as one, and once a decision's been made, you have to support that decision unless you're unable to support that decision. This last budget being passed, I voted against the budget. I couldn't support the budget, and I had no choice ethically except to resign if I couldn't support the decision made. And that was part of driving my decision to quit the board. I guess if it's a matter of ethics and I can't follow it, then I guess I would resign again. But you know, less than 100 people supported our last budget out of 1,300 lots. That was not a mandate, and so.
A system, right? Those 100 people voted for it, and that's how it worked.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
That's how the system worked, right?
Yes.
So instead of dropping off the board, shouldn't we work to change the system?
Yes, I'm just saying that my obligation was to either support that decision or to resign from the board. I couldn't support that decision.
Okay.
Thank you. Mandy, you had a question? We had two questions. Was that two? I'm sorry. That was two, but Mandy, go ahead. Quick question, please.
I was going to be cheeky and say, if we're both elected to the board, do you have any problem with me being obtuse and in your face, Dad? It wouldn't change. It already is that way.
Pat, would you mind if I asked a question? Pat, the water budget, you made the motion to pass the water budget. Could you maybe explain, were you talking about just the HOA budget or just both of them?
No, the HOA budget I did not support. I did support the water budget. And with one caveat, that we need to not wait till the 12th hour to put our budget together and pass it with no time left, and with 30 seconds on the time clock. I feel bad for Esther. I believe she was thrown under the bus on the water budget. We talked about going down to 4,000 gallons, and I supported that 4,000 gallon number rather than raising our rate from $35, so that people that used more water paid for more water. And 4,000 gallons I felt was a adequate number of gallons for an average family. And if they used more, they paid another $3, $4, $6 a month. But to go up to $50 a month and do that, that was all based on all the narrative that our water manager created of all this helter-skelter stuff, and the sky was falling. And I've personally learned since then that none of it holds water. I'll let other people form their own opinion. But based on the information we were giving and the time we had to do it in, I did vote for that water raise.
Thank you, Pat, for your honesty and your comments on that. I appreciate it. Next is Mitch Robinson. I have your statement here, Rich. I mean, Mitch.
Hi, everybody. Let me say it again because I've seen on chat. My name is Mitch Robinson. So if you have a ballot in front of you, or you will soon, Mitch Robinson, you can either vote for me or not, but you'll know my name, Mitch Robinson. I want to give a special welcome to everybody hanging in on Zoom. I can see all of you. I'm waving at you. And thanks to everybody that's taken the time to be here in person. We all have great candidate statements that are on the website, so you can go read those. So I'm not just going to go through all that word for word, but my wife and I have lived here coming up on 2 years. And when we moved here, we knew absolutely no one. Unlike many of you, I'm not related to anybody else here. I'm not from West Seattle, where many of you are from, and a lot of you knew each other. But we were welcomed immediately, which is really why we love this community so much. And it really is a community. And in some ways, it's a small city. And I joined the board this past November when someone left the board, resigned. I was appointed. And I've done my darndest to be involved and really learn and understand. And I've done that learning from fellow board members, but also being out in the community. I've been on different social groups. Some I inherently enjoy and some I don't even enjoy, but I've been on both of them, asking people if they want to get together and meet with me and to learn from them. I've helped lead our town halls because I'm a big believer in transparency and communication. And how can we share and get our fellow members smarter, or at least have a general understanding about what's going on? I'm really proud of those efforts, and I hope we continue to do those. But I will tell you, since I've been on the board, it is hard. There's people that have a variety of time. I still work full time, and I spend my nights kind of going through materials. There is a lot to do, and if you want to be an active board member like I have been, there's even more to do. And I'm not complaining, I like it. And the hard thing is, though, is really listening to everyone's perspective. And when you're a board member, you don't just represent your personal perspective, you represent all members. And then you have to make hard decisions on votes. I'll just give you one example. We had a board meeting recently where we had to vote on adding some golf carts. I don't golf. I want to golf. I used to work at a golf course. I voted no on the carts. Now, there were probably a number of reasons I voted no. The motion passed, and I'm glad it kind of passed. And I'll probably never get a golf cart now when I want one. But those are the kind of hard decisions that members have to make. Okay. I've also been active on the IN committee, and we've made some great gains there, led by Kyle, and many other great things to follow. I'm a huge believer in our amenities: golf, lake, parks, inn, Dale's Drinks, you name it. I'm a big believer in all of them, but the hard thing as a board member is how do you take member input and then look at all these priorities? And we only have so much money to spend, and we have a lot of different types of members. And how do we do what's best for all our members? And by the way, how do we do it and have a good time? Okay, we're here to enjoy our life. And that's one other thing I wanted to talk about briefly is one thing I've tried to do in the board, and I really hope all of us get a little better at that, is respecting each other. Okay, I kind of live in a world where I assume the best in all. Okay, and that also means no personal attacks, no snarky Facebook posts. If you can't say it to someone in person, don't say it. It's time for all of us to come together, assume the best with positivity, and love this community that we love. Because I can tell you, when I'm out on the water this summer, I have no negativity whatsoever. Okay, when I'm playing golf or when I'm volunteering at something, we all can do better. Board members can do better. Staff can probably do better. Our membership can do better, but we can all do a much better job respecting each other. Respect our staff for the hard work they do. Respect our members who have a variety of viewpoints, and respect our board who does not have evil intent. You may not agree with their priorities all the time, but you voted them in. So respect the board members, whether I'm on that board or not. I'm a big believer in that. The last thing I just want to talk about from a transparency perspective, we can still do a better job. We can still be more open. I encourage all of you, come to some events and meet some people that you don't know. Go to the inn once in a while and have dinner or have a drink and meet someone you don't know. And I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice right now, and I hope my wife isn't watching right now. I'm going to give you my cell phone number. Okay? Now, I work full time. It's not a customer service line. I'm not available 24 hours a day. But if you have a question for me and you can't get to it tonight, here's my number. It's 253-208-5146. I'm not going to repeat that. But I'm serious. If you want to know more about me or how I feel, let me know. Again, my name's Mitch Robinson. Hi, Zoom people. It would be an honor to continue on the board doing what I can do. Someone's already calling me wanting to talk, but I'm still up here. All right. Thanks, John. I'll let you determine if there's questions.
Yep.
So you mentioned that you work full time. How much?
So, so the question was, how much time do I spend on board activities, knowing I work full time? Well, don't tell my employer, okay? Because I work it in as I can. I have that availability to do so. I don't think it's so much about hours. Some weeks it's 10 hours, some weeks it's 2 hours, some weeks it's 20 hours. The important thing is when I'm asked to do something like put together a town hall and put together a 40 slide deck, I make the time because it's important.
Anything else? Up, one person. Mike.
Hey, Mitch. I know you have some ideas about how to improve some of the communication on the board and kind of documentation and transparency. I wanted to give you a chance to share a little bit of that.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. First of all, you know, I'm one of those people that thinks that it might not be as bad as some have portrayed it to be. Before I moved here, I spent hours and hours and nights going through every document possible on the website. There is so much there that you can read if you really want to. I do think with some of the things, Mike, that happen in real time, that's where communication could probably be improved. Sometimes I think it's not enough just to say, go read the minutes or go to a board meeting, because a lot of people don't have time, and that's not how they take in information. So I really believe if we could get to a cadence, for instance, of doing monthly town halls on different subjects to educate people, I think that's a great thing. We're also recording those town halls because not everybody can make it at that moment in time, whether on Zoom or in person. But as we build up this library to allow people to go back and learn more about our community, I'd also like to see us do more things where the board just is at one place at one time, and there isn't official board business, but you can, you know, meet us and talk about things or other things like that. And then there's things that we probably need to move towards working with staff in terms of perhaps a weekly newsletter and things like that, where we can share information in a digestible way. So hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Mitch. We appreciate it. Okay, the last two people we do have on the ballot this year, write-in candidates are going to be, you're going to be able to put down a write-in candidate. We have two this evening that with us, if they want to say something. If they don't want to say something, that's fine too. But we will have Christie put their profiles on the website as if they request that. But did you want to have something to say, Mike? Sure. So the first one would be Mike Berni. Huh? Berni? Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, in Boston, it's Berni.
You're Ingemi.
Yeah, that's what.
I left my speech in my other tuxedo. I wasn't actually planning on saying anything. My name is Mike Berni. My wife and I, Mary, moved down here about 2 years ago. We're here full time. I'm a retired mental health professional, specifically a family therapist. I've got a pretty strong background in systemic thinking and collaboration and conflict resolution. I have a master's degree in educational psychology, and I was in private practice for a lot of years. And I did consultation for various companies and clinical organizations. And I've been on a couple of boards. The most recent one was a mental health housing association in South Seattle, where we found residences for the mentally ill and drug and alcohol people. I hope that was succinct enough.
Say your name again.
Mike Berni.
So,
Hi. Oh,
So Mike, this is the first time we're hearing from you. You've been here 2 years. What did you see or hear or feel that convinced you to step up and run for it?
well, there's a lot of what I feel is a contentiousness that's enveloped a contentiousness that has enveloped our community. And it seems to have various sides. At first, I thought it was the golf course people versus the lake people. And then now it seems like it's much more of the same kind of thing that kind of affects the rest of our world. There is a real, I believe, disenfranchisement and anger that's going on, and I can feel it. And it's kind of in my wheelhouse to kind of help people deal with that and collaborate. And it isn't the issue of what side is right and wrong, because that would be bias, and I tend to try to avoid that whenever possible. I think the board member, I think Mandy said it and many other people said it, is that the idea is that the board works for you. You don't work for us. You know, we're not here to, the board people are not here to actually judge people. They're here to facilitate what people think is a good way to live. And I think that it's collaborative. It's kind of getting together, it's listening a whole lot and trying to move forward as opposed to moving backward.
Okay. You can see Mike. Oh, did you have a question, Kenny?
Just to clarify, are you running for the board?
Yes.
or the
I'm a write-in.
Water board or both?
The board, not the water board.
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 The board.
The big board. Where the grown-ups sit.
I was gonna say, probably as a mental health professional, he speaks very quietly. Yeah.
He listens.
Thank you. Russ, did you want to say anything or? You don't have to. Ah, here he comes. Yes. Blame it on him. Don't swear. All right.
Hi, my name is Russell Preuit, and I live in Division 4. And today is our 1-year anniversary of moving into this community, actually. So, and I had no idea I was going to do this today. I was recruited today to do this and convinced to do this based on some concerns about some of the candidates that were running, and some felt that I would do a better job. Now, most people don't know me. I've worked with John on the compliance committee for a while. I'm getting to know people in the community more and more, but I don't have a lot of experience being on a board. I don't have, I do have experience. I was in the healthcare IT department for 33 years and a project manager for Virginia Mason Medical Center in Seattle for all those 33 years. And projects like installing new clinics, it was my job to make sure that all the IT stuff they needed got installed for those new clinics or new floors or whatever. So I do have experience working with a lot of different people and views and what needs to get done. I would say that I agree with a lot of the candidates that the transparency of the community, the communication that needs to go out, needs to be improved. I think I've seen it improved already in the last year quite a bit. But I am also of the mind that when we moved here and I signed the contract to pay my dues, I knew what I was getting into. And, and this is going to sound harsh, but this is my view. If you don't like it, move. Okay. I mean, so that's, a lot of people aren't going to agree with that view, but that's how I feel. So that's who I am. I listen to everybody, but, we moved here for the amenities. We love the amenities. We love the community. And we felt welcome since the day we got here. And in the last couple of months, we started questioning why we were living here, and maybe we needed to move, but we decided maybe we probably need to get involved a little bit more. So thank you.
Oh, it's been a long night. I just want to say in closing, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. What? Amy and John Sem, his wife, she wasn't feeling well, so they left. But her statement or her profile will stand as her statement tonight. Yeah, they can be. Husband and wife, father and daughter. Yeah. Pat, did you want to say something before we close?
Yes, I just wanted to say that we have an unusual problem, if it's a problem, and that is a host of great candidates where typically we can't get enough. So I'm pleased that there's a diverse group of candidates. I would say vote for the candidate that you think is going to support the community as best as possible. And if I do not get voted in, it's not going to hurt my feelings. And I'm going to continue to support Lake Limerick in any fashion I can and help as best I can. So there's a lot of other great candidates that would do us well. And I think we're blessed to have such a great group of people running for the board and for the water committee.
Well, thank you, Pat. I was going to say some of that in closing, but I appreciate it. And like Pat said, we do have a bunch of great candidates running tonight that spoke tonight and are running in April. But if you don't make it, if you are a candidate and you do not make the board, please volunteer on a, never mind that, Wally. Please volunteer on a committee. Pick a committee, something that might interest you. There are so many, some committees staffed better than other committees, but you'll see that all of our committees get things done. And, you know, and there are a bunch of great people. We probably have 75 to 100 people on committees across the association. So please get involved. Please help us as a board. Committees recommend to the board. So help us as a board continue to provide what I think is pretty good service to this community.
Can you just tell people, generally when the ballots be mailed out?
Oh, Roger, ballots will be mailed out. Do I have that? Ballots are going to be, are they going to be mailed out Monday? Was it?
Either Friday or Monday.
Okay, ballots will be mailed out either Friday or Monday, and you should have them next week. Janelle?
When do
They have to be back here by 2 p.m. on the day of the election. That's the latest they can be. That would be April 16th, isn't it? Yeah, so please, do not trust the post office in that you think it's going to get here if you mail it the Thursday before or something. There's the blue box outside. You can always put it in there. So we have, by 2 o'clock, the election committee will cut off any ballots that come in after that. Again, what I didn't mention earlier, I did say that I was elected president of the association, the board of directors of the HOA, and Tamara Ingvaldson over here was elected vice president. So she thinks she's going to keep me in line. But that's it. Thank you very much for everything, everyone, and we had a really good showing. So thank you.